Welcome to the Wild Mom Podcast. We do things a little differently around here. If you're a mystic, spiritual, conscious, wild mother, then this is the podcast for you. It's time to come back to your roots, remember your divinity, and embody the wild woman within. You're here to shake up the parenting game, awaken from the matrix, and raise your new earth children to be free and energetically connected to all there is. This is your podcast to reclaim the wise and the wealthy, the intuitive, loving, and divinely feminine motherhood. Mama, welcome back to the wild. Okay, welcome everybody to another amazing conversation. And for those of you who are in Danielle's world, you know that she is magical. She's going to bring so much wisdom today. If you're not in her world though, let me just share how amazing this woman is that's on our podcast today. So, Danielle Rothschild is a mother, a writer, an astrologer, a teacher, and is dedicated to a lifelong pursuit of healing and transformation. Over the past 15 years, she has immersed herself in the world of spiritual healing, studying with extraordinary teachers, and earning certifications in yoga, prenatal yoga, meditation, reiki, and astrology. She has written 3 books, which, by the way, amazing. Got to pick your brain a little bit about that later. And she has developed an amazing community. She is a creator of the Little Mystic School, which, okay, in itself is an amazing title. So we'll dive deeper into that today as well. And she's really here to help moms to use astrology to help their kids, to use magic and mindfulness to help their kids. So just listen to all that. Listen to all that magic that you were bringing today. I thank you so much for being here, Danielle. And the stage is yours to share more about yourself.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Emily. I have been so excited to connect with you and your community. This is like a huge passion of mine is um, empowering moms and helping moms to understand their kids better through mystical practices, which in turn helps them to understand themselves and what they experienced as a child. So I really feel like it's my mission. It brings me tremendous joy, and I'm so honored to be here. Um, yeah, so should I give you a little bit of a background of how
Oh
I
my
landed here?
God, yes, please. I think a lot of us here are like, well, how did you get here? How did you create the Little Mystic School? How did you get on this path of spiritual motherhood? Because I know there's so many moms here who are just dipping their toes in, but they don't
Yeah,
know the next step. So please share with us how you got to where you are today.
awesome. Well, I feel like I was born this way, and I really feel like the what you personally are doing speaks to a lot of people, a lot of children who are born this way, these new age indigo children. So I was born, my first memory was one of my first memories was of having a conversation with God. And at the time, I didn't even know really what God was. It's always been a huge part of who I am in my life. My parents were not religious. I never heard any talk about God at the table, but I knew from the get-go that I had this really powerful relationship with this thing that was bigger than me and that I couldn't see or touch. So I was born a mystic. And I always felt very different. And a lot of us who come into this path are like that. We share a different perspective. It's not better or worse than other people. It's just different. We were in the olden ages, way back in the day, we would be known as the shamans of the villages, you know. So
Oh,
so we
truth
were
bombs.
yeah, so we are the little mystics who grew up to guide people on a spiritual path to help people come back to who they are and to their center. And, growing up, it wasn't easy for me. I had a difficult childhood. I was bullied a lot. And so a lot of what I do now, it's to help kids not have to go through what I experienced, but it's also to heal a part of myself that, really went through some difficult times. When I was 25 years old, I'm going to be 45 in a few weeks.
Oh my
So
God, you
it's
look great. You look
thank
amazing. Oh
you.
my God.
Thank you.
I was like,
So this,
you couldn't be older than like 35. You look amazing. Oh my God.
thank you so much. That means a lot to me, for
Totally
sure.
energy
I
healing.
sometimes I feel, I'm like, oh God, going through it. Um, Yeah, but I came onto this path really when I was 25. From like 18 to 25, I made some really bad life choices. I
Don't we
was going
all?
through, yeah, I was really going through a very difficult time and I was spiraling out of control. And I had a massive awakening at 25 where I realized that I needed to make some major life changes, physical, mental, and spiritual. And when you start on the healing journey, there's a lot of ebbs and flows. And that's how it was for me. It took me a long time to integrate a lot of healing practices into my life and to actually start to see myself heal from a lot of past traumas. When I was in 2008, I was about 29 years old, 30 years old. I got a Pilates and yoga certification. I ended up, through the healing journey, I was taking different classes. Yoga was like starting to really blow up. At the time, I was living in New York City and I fell in love. And so I initially got certified in Pilates and then a year later in yoga. And for about 6 years, my life was just teaching yoga in studios full time. Um, and when you are a yoga teacher, just by teaching, you start to really embody the teachings and the
Mhm.
practices. And so that's really how I started to kind of like integrate these practices into my life. In 2017, I was starting to like get a little itchy and I was like, I want to do something different. I want to, see how I can grow my career. And at that time, that was when the school shootings started to really become, more of a conversation in our country, which for me, that's the United States. And that really affected me. It brought up a lot of things that I experienced when I was younger through my primary education years. And it was just something that I knew, like in my gut and my heart, that I had to help out in some way, that I had to change what I was doing and shift it towards teaching kids. And so what I did was I reached out to a ton of educators in the New York area and I developed this program called Awake Yoga and Meditation, where I would bring in
Oh, I love
mindfulness and
it.
yoga, yeah, mindfulness and yoga trainings to educators and teach them how to implement these trainings into their classroom. And I worked with a ton of kids as well.
Mhm.
And I did that for 3 years. I did it full time, and I started to really build a name for myself in New York. But then in 2000, in my early months of being pregnant, the pandemic hit and all of New York shut down, like especially the yoga studios. It was done. And, for me, going through pregnancy during the pandemic was, it just completely changed who I was as a person. Mm. It brought up so much for me, and also so much was changing for me physically as well. It was a difficult pregnancy. And so I was trying to find a way to channel my creativity and all of my emotions. And I just started writing. And I wrote my first book, Summer School Day Scaries. And through writing, it
I
opened
love the
up this
titles.
like,
Oh,
thank you.
when you do this channeling work, like the most amazing titles come through. I love it.
It really, and it is like channeling when you just get in the zone and you allow your creativity to like, you allow like divine consciousness to like seep into your own. All these ideas emerge. And it was really like a divine idea where one day I woke up, I was having my coffee and I was like, I want to create a school called Little Mystic School. Mystic this, Mystic that. And I was coming, and then it just hit. And I was like, this is what I need to be doing. Because when I was teaching in schools, you couldn't bring any of these more esoteric practices into the schools because there's so much red tape. But
Mhm.
that was like the heart of who I was. It's what really helped me understand myself when I did finally go emerge on this healing path. So I started Little Mystic School in 2001, and right off the bat, it got a really great reception from a lot of, I had a small account. I think I had, I don't know, 650 community, members, people who were following me on Instagram. And then slowly it started to build. but it took a long time. And there were many times throughout the last 4 years where I actually had to take a break from social media because it was just so exhausting to put in so much energetic effort and to feel like, oh, like, is this even reaching anyone?
Hmm.
And then last October, I took like a 4 month break just to kind of figure out what I wanted to do with this career and to also focus more on the actual creative process versus the content creation. And when I came back in February, I posted one reel randomly, but I was in a different space. Like I was cleared energetically and I got 17,000 followers within a month.
Oh my God, I
So,
love it.
so I went from like 3,000 to like 21,000 in like the span of 2 months. And I was like, whoa, this is wild. Like everything I've worked for, all the struggles, it's like I'm starting to see results. And
Hmm.
so that's just a little bit about the iteration and the birth of this business. And where I am right now, which is like it's Libra season, right? And right now I'm really a lot is coming up for me around once again the idea of balancing my work life with my parenting life, and I have two books that I'm currently working on, but at the same time I'm trying to,
Exciting.
yes, it's super, and they're so amazing. But at the same time, I'm trying to also manage my career and put out content. And I know I'm going to have to build a little bit of a personal break in there. So, this business is, it's built into my life. It's very much a part of who I am because it's like my dharma.
Hmm.
Um, and and yeah, it's growing and ebbing and flowing all the time. And that's just where I am. That's where I'm at right now.
Oh, I love it. There's so many little pieces that I wanted to like jump in and be like, oh my God, I relate to this. And, oh my God, this is amazing. But I was like, okay, I gotta just let her speak and get all of her wisdom out. I feel the exact same way with this is your dharma, right? My husband all the time is telling me, Emily, your business is you, right? You are your business. So don't think of it as separate from you. Don't think of any of these different parts of your life as separate from you. It is you. And when I drop into that space, magic happens with like so much less effort. Then I'm like, how did that happen?
Yeah,
And and
and it's
I
true.
yeah. And I love what you had said about the balance because the balance is so important when you are doing this work because the most important part for you as this leader and this healer and this mom is to have that divinely energetic balanced space. So now let's bring all of this in because you mentioned Dharma, you mentioned Libra season. What is it that you do in the little mystic school?
Well, what I do is, and it's my main focus is teaching parents and children how to actually embody this knowledge so that you can actually make a change in your life and so that you can actually understand all of this really esoteric knowledge. So I do that with very practical and simple practices. Now, for the longest time, I was teaching and not actually doing. Like it was just living in my brain and I got the concept, but I didn't really get it. And where things started to change was when I wrote my book, Lunar Lessons for the Little Astrologer. That book,
Again, love it.
thank you so much. It's super cute. That book teaches parents and children how to have a relationship with the moon by offering parents and kids monthly new and full moon rituals. And the rituals incorporate mindfulness and breath work and all the things. And so when I was, writing and creating social media posts, I would also start to practice these rituals. I mean, like I had already done them before, but
Mhm.
I actually started doing them on a regular basis. And I was like, huh, I saw my daughter really come alive when, during season, during the new moon in Cancer, we did a little ritual and did a mindfulness baking ritual. And she got to play with the food and she got to experience having this wonderful connection with her mother, where Cancer is ruled by the moon and the moon is very much correlated to a mama, to the mother,
Mm.
to the archetype of the mother. So I noticed by performing these rituals how much it positively impacted her and myself. So that's one way I help parents is by offering them monthly new and full moon rituals that are really simple that they can practice. Another way is by really focusing on, there's a few placements in a child's birth chart that are incredibly important to their emotional and spiritual well-being. The most important one and the easiest one to focus on is their moon sign. And you don't even need necessarily a child's birth time. So if you're like, oh, I don't know their birth time, you could Google it, and most likely you'll be able to find what moon sign your child has. So, if your child has a moon sign in a water sign, Cancer, Pisces, or Scorpio, that's an indication that the element of water is going to be really important to their emotional and spiritual well-being. So just going to the ocean, to a lake, during the monthly new and full moon, giving them, depending on their age, a bath time moon ritual will be like
Oh, I love
incredibly
this.
important, where they could like go outside and pick flowers, and you could put crystals or little herbs. Like, you can really have fun with it. If your child has an earth moon sign, really allowing them to play in the dirt, going outside in nature, teaching them how to garden, teaching them all about, how to grow their own food is going to help them feel so empowered, so connected to the essence of who they are. Air signs, breath work, essential oil healing, because smells travel through air. That's going to be super helpful. And
Mm.
then fire moon signs, anything very active. They want to build heat in their body. They want to release their emotions through play and through very physical, like strong physical activities. So there's so many ways to incorporate these practices, which are really, yes, they're magic, but they're ancient, and they work, and they have existed since the beginning of time because we are nature. And
Mhm.
it's just about developing a really beautiful relationship with the natural world. That's what paganism is. That's what mysticism and magic is.
And I absolutely love this. And as you were talking, I was just thinking, like, I wonder what my daughter's moon sign would be because intuitively these little kids know. They know what they need.
Yeah.
And if we can have these tools as moms, especially to these new birth kids who have wildly different needs than any other children, if we can just use these tools, then we may allow our kids to play in the dirt a bit longer than what us as moms may be like, okay, like this time is done. We're going to go play over here. We're going to do this. We may see that it's actually so healing for them. And I think my daughter is probably an earth sign. I got to check that out after because she loves being outside. Like rain or shine, she's always like pulling at the door handle and she's only 16 months. So she's like barely reaching, but she's like, mommy, like I want to go outside. And so everyone's like, oh my God, like your daughter loves to be outdoors. And now I'm just wondering, like she probably knows. She probably is like, I feel so much better when I'm grounding myself, when I'm doing this healing, when I'm connecting with Mother Gaia. And having this tool for us as moms is so helpful for us to navigate what their needs are.
100%. And then, just because you're working with the elements, you yourself are healed by their own energy. Like, each element has a specific type of energy. So you
Mhm.
yourself are healed by it just through osmosis, through being outside with your kids. And there's something about slowing down and getting back to the root of who we are, which is, to me, it's extremely simple. Like,
Mhm.
it seems quite obvious, but in today's modern world, it's not. It, to me, that's like one of the most powerful practices you can possibly do, is just immersing yourself with nature, getting back to it, and using the tools of nature to heal your life through the food that you eat, through everything.
Mm, I love all of that. Actually, before we hopped on our podcast, I was doing some grounding and some body work and really just appreciating Mother Gaia for how much she does for us and how much we are held by her, right? We are loved by her. And I know based on my own practice with theta healing and my daughter, there are so many kids who have not been energetically given to Mother Gaia. They're still stuck in what I call the shadow bond between mom and child. And so they almost like they're asking, okay, like I want to come back to Mother Gaia. I want to be working with the elements because that is what they're meant to do when they come here, right? We're that conduit for them from the spirit realm into physical form. Now we have to give them up to Mother Gaia and be like, this is your new home. Like, hold my child and allow my child to feel held. And before I did a practice on my daughter, she had the belief that she didn't belong here. And so I was
Wow.
like, I'm grounding the shit out of you. I'm making sure that
Yeah.
you feel so held and so supported. And it really helped my connection with her as well to understand that, okay, she's feeling these ways, right?
Mhm.
And this is what she needs, whether it's based on her chart, whether it's based on her belief systems and her trapped emotions. And there's so many different tools out there that allows us to understand our child deeper. And that's just one of the amazing benefits that I've experienced with my own modality. And I'm curious to know what are some of the benefits that you or the moms that you work with have noticed since incorporating more of the full moon and new moon rituals and working with their birth chart and the elements, like what magic has been created in
Yeah.
doing this work?
Clarity,
Oh,
acceptance, you
huge
know,
ones.
acceptance. I've worked with a lot of moms who have multiple children, and oftentimes there's one child that really triggers something within the mom. Not all the time, but oftentimes I see that.
My daughter with me.
Right. So, and it just happens, right? And that child is often the mirror for the mother or the father.
Mhm.
And when they're able to understand that child's energetic needs and what who they really are, because astrology is it's not your soul, it's simply a map of your soul's experience here on earth.
Truth bumps. Oh, love it.
So it's separate from the soul. The soul is infinite and will live on forever. It's different.
Mhm.
But this earthly experience is very unique and it's very special. And the soul comes into this earth body because it wants to grow. It really does. That's what the soul wants to do. And so astrology and reading a natal birth chart will tell you what this child really needs in order for their soul to grow and so that you can really support them. And so acceptance is a big one. Acceptance of like, this is okay, this is my child's what they need, this is who they are. And while it's very different from me, at least I know what to do now to support them. And this is all normal, and their behavior is all normal.
Yeah.
So that's a big one. And clarity is another one. And then the ability to take actionable steps, practical, actionable steps. Because for me, I'm all about practical magic. You know, if you cannot utilize it in your real life, it's not going to create the change that you need and that your family needs and that this world needs.
Mhm.
So that's a lot of what I have seen.
As you were saying, practical magic, I swear I just saw you as like a past life version of you when you were in that wise woman witch era. I saw perfectly clearly like
You do?
that. Yeah,
I
I was who
love
you
that.
are. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, yes, you are a witch in the best way possible. You are that
Oh,
wise
thank
woman,
you.
and what you're bringing to these new earth kids is so powerful and so important. And that's why when I stumbled on your page, I was like, I need her. I need her to share this wisdom with my community because just like with my theta healing, it's a tool. It's a tool that allows you to navigate your kids' well-being. It allows you to support their spiritual development because past generations, like we're doing our healing work now as adults, right? We
Yeah.
didn't get the opportunity to know how to use the elements, to know how to heal ourselves as little kids. My daughter, because she sees me doing it and doing it with her, she's doing mantras now. She's 16
Mm,
months old. And she'll go
wow.
to the chakras and she'll point on the chakras and she'll do the different, like, they all sound like the same hum, but she's trying. She's trying to work with her breath and to do mantras. She uses tuning forks. She
Oh,
does like we call it the wiggles when she has too much energy and she shakes out her
yeah.
body like we do as adults to regulate our nervous system. Like she's doing all these things because I've been incorporating these tools into navigating and helping her. And so what you're doing is so powerful for moms. And it's what you mentioned before about, I can't remember the last thing you mentioned, but the word that I heard was empowerment. It's empowering moms. It's the practical tools to empower moms to be able to navigate their kids' temper tantrums without having to follow the old earth paradigm way of doing it, which would be punishment, right? It's like, oh, my child actually needs to just be grounded in nature. And that maybe is it. Maybe they just need to run around on a track for a bit and get their energy out. Maybe they need to go into a dark space and just put on the essential oils. Like there's so many amazing tools out there that you're teaching moms. And I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing this work and for listening to that soul calling and those channeled messages of those amazing titles for your books and your programs because it's just so important. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you for everything you're doing. And, the more that we share about this, the more it will stretch out and people will realize that this stuff works. And, as you were speaking, I was like, and I want to learn more about theta healing. I
Mhm.
pronounced it right?
Yeah, yeah.
Theta healing. Because that sounds so fascinating. But I was also, as you were speaking, I was like, yeah, and it helps people remember really who we are, which is we are spiritual beings having a physical experience.
Hmm.
And all of these tools really connect us back to the essence of who we are. I'm big into chakra healing as well because each chakra also correlates with a different planet as well. So that's another thing. So, like, if you have a lot of earth energy, like if you have Capricorn energy, that's root chakra healing. Cancer as well, root chakra healing. If you've got Scorpio or Aries energy, that's solar plexus healing. There's all these different tools. And when you start to use them, you're able to have a relationship with your mind, body, and spirit as one. You're able to have a relationship with all of these different angels and with God and with spirit because you realize that you are just the physical manifestation of all of that
Hmm.
and that it exists
Beautifully
within
said.
you as above so below.
Yeah, so beautifully said. So what I know moms that be hearing this and some moms that be feeling very overwhelmed because we're
Yeah,
in this world. We've been in this world for a while. We're like, get it. We understand everything. We still have lessons to learn though. Just a reminder of that. We
for
still have
sure.
lessons to learn.
Absolutely. Progress, not
And
perfection.
and what do moms need to get started on this? What do moms need to start dipping their toes in doing this work? And I know a great place to start is with your books and with everything that you offer. And is there anything that they need? I'm thinking more within them that will
Yeah.
allow them to be able to take your courses and succeed with doing what they want to do with their kids.
Yeah, I could think of probably three tips just off the top of my head. So the first one would be to figure out your moon sign. Maybe you know it already. Maybe you don't. If you don't, just look it up. You look up, the day you were born and the location. You may need the time, but you may not need the time of your birth. So figure out your moon sign and what you need to feel
Mm.
emotionally safe and regulated, because that's what your moon sign is going to tell you. Do the same thing with your child. That's super easy. That's just going to give you some clarity. Another thing is to start developing a relationship with the moon. The moon is the archetype of the mother. So it's really important to have that connection. So just at the new and the full moon, start with one. For me, I resonate more with the full moon. I think it's because I just think it's like really pretty and there's something about it that I'm like, ah.
I
So
feel like
I
it's like
start,
witchy side coming out, and I'm like about to like howl at the moon. I'm like, yes,
yes, no,
you.
exactly. When I first started teaching this, believe it or not, I really didn't follow all the transits and the cycles. I just started with the full moon. I would go outside every time there was a full moon and just spend a few minutes looking at it and even talking to it, like, hey, what you doing up there?
Yeah.
Thank you. Like, I love you. You're beautiful.
Yeah.
Really like simple and kind of silly, but just like even just gazing at it. That's a really simple way to like actually realize that you have a relationship with this thing
Hmm.
that is so much bigger than you. And then lastly, for me, I recently started syncing up my menstrual cycle with the monthly moon cycle. So the next time I bleed, it's going to be during the Capricorn moon, which is going to be when the moon is waxing, the first quarter moon. So when the moon is waxing, that's typically just generally when people have more energy. So knowing that I'm going to have my menstrual cycle there, I'm going to balance that energy, Libra season, with what's
Hmm.
going on internally. So, gentle yoga, maybe some walks outside if it's nice out. So, it's really about for me during my moon cycle this month is working on balancing taking action with rest. And so, for you, if you bleed on the full moon, that would be different. It would be more of like, a celebratory practice. You would really be like allowing yourself to enjoy like the pleasures of life and celebrate that moon. And if it's a new moon practice, it's a little bit more subdued. You could set intentions, but you wouldn't be doing as many physical practices. So, syncing your own biology up with the moon cycle is also really helpful. And whether you have a menstrual cycle or not, you can still sync up your internal rhythms with the
Hmm.
monthly moon phases as well.
Hmm.
Everyone has a moon sign. So when the moon every single month passes through your sign, and that's just a way of like tracking it, you can, really build in personal practices to help you honor your own moon sign.
Hmm. What I'm really hearing is that for moms, it's important to start doing the work on ourselves.
Yeah, it's super important because kids will not only just for your own mental health and so that you can show up and be super present with as a parent and guide your new earth child in the way that you want to, but also kids mirror us as well.
Hmm.
So just find one thing that you can start with. Maybe just start by having a relationship with the monthly moon
Hmm.
and noticing, for 3 months, you could just track it, noticing what you experience when you allow yourself to pay attention to what's going on all
Hmm.
around you and in the cosmos.
Hmm.
And then include your children or your family in that as well.
I've recently started using the moon and the different cycles for all areas of my life. So now when I'm bleeding, that's my inward time. So I'll make sure that I'm doing all my scheduled posts and all my scheduled emails so I can just take that time and be inward, right? When I am in my ovulation cycle, then I am doing more podcast. I'm doing more speaking. I'm doing more collaborating and it's so cool how when you start to cycle with the moon, there's so much more grace you give yourself instead of having to feel like you have to push through and be the best mom or make sure you're up to date with all these different tasks when you're bleeding and your body's like, we gotta rest, right? I love
Totally.
it so much. So, oh my God, I could talk to you for hours about this. And I know I'm gonna have you on the podcast again because I know we're gonna get a lot of questions on just everything that you mentioned. There's so much more detail we can go into.
And just one last thing, it just came to
Yeah,
me.
for sure.
When if you haven't already figured out your moon sign, look that up and look at the corresponding element to your moon sign. So for me, I have a Virgo moon, which means earth is my element. Start to really incorporate whatever element rules your moon sign into your life, into your daily practices. If you're a water moon sign, find a way to swim, take long showers if you live somewhere cold, like
Mhm.
really start to develop a relationship with the elements as well. And that's it. I know that I've given everyone so much. I hope I haven't overwhelmed you all.
No, no, it's absolutely amazing. And there's just so much more we could talk about because you're so divinely connected. So you could just, if I gave you the space, you would probably just continue to receive download after download and be like, okay, I can share this and this and this. And so I love it. I love being able to connect with other moms who are on this mission. So where can other moms come find you, come connect with you, read your books, take your courses? How can they be in your world?
Well, follow me on Instagram at Little Mystic School or TikTok at Little Mystic School. That's a really great place to start. I haven't really paid that much attention to my Facebook group because I just don't have the time, but I will one day, one day soon. And most likely in the new year, I will be developing a membership, a private membership for moms.
Oh, love it.
I'm in the works of completing 2 books, so follow me along. I love, connecting with new people. I love my community, and I hope to connect with you all very soon.
Thank you so much. And I'll make sure to add all the links into the show notes as well. So anyone who's coming back to watch the replay and maybe having to listen to this recording multiple times because there was so much wisdom that you shared, everything will be in the show notes to connect with you, Danielle. So thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you for everything. It's been so much fun to talk to you. It really was. It was great.
And I'm sending everybody here who's tuned in live and listening to this so much love. And I hope you all have a great day.
Bye, everyone.